the same room. We share love. Embracing the differences like hand in glove. Spread peace, joy, to beautiful sight. Together we shine in each other's light. Like we stand in love's pure light. Watching the world in love. Hearts beating our people fly. Colors of harmony, painted in the night. We stand in love's pure light.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to Watching the World for another afternoon to discuss the hot news topics. We have a lot in store to talk about. We have Bordeaux in the building. We have Mashona, JDP. We have a lot of people here to support the channel. We appreciate all the moderators. Thank you guys for all you do. I'm in a bad mood today, sad mood rather, because I was really rooting for Wendy Williams. And now the news has come out saying that perhaps she might not be able to get out of this situation where she's become, in her own words, sort of a prisoner in a luxury apartment in Manhattan here in New York. And I was really, really hoping for her, almost as though she was a relative, that she would get a good health report, but it seems that she's not out of the woods. Some people are reporting that she has dementia. I'm not sure. Neither am I a doctor or someone that knows all of her details, but I will say that my heart goes out to her in so many ways, because a lot of people are experiencing a lot of health problems here lately, and it's just tough to know that she may not be able to return to the air and some of the things that was being reported on within the last couple of weeks. So we have a lot in store. Let's get right to it. Donald Trump has really stirred up things in the United States and around the world, especially when it comes to what's happening in Washington, D.C. Have you guys really been covering all the changes and how the National Guard is on the streets? A lot of people are out there protesting. I have some relatives in D.C., and they're not happy. They feel like they're being smothered with all the new arrangements that Donald Trump has brought forth. What do you guys think? Are any of you guys located in D.C.? If you are, feel free to come up and talk about it. We would love to have you express your feelings with boots on the ground. We're going to get into it today. We're going to talk about how they're actually already bulldozering down the little encampments that people have set up to just try to live on the fringes of life, folks. That's what people are just trying to survive. A lot of people end up homeless, not just because they're on drugs or because they have mental problems. A lot of people go through hardships. In fact, people are experiencing so much with the economy. It's hard to make ends meet. A lot of people are close to losing their livelihood, losing their apartments. People get evicted. I live near a city called Newburgh. People get evicted all the time, folks, and not having the next place to go to because they just can't afford life right now. And so we have the tariffs happening. We reviewed that yesterday. A lot of people are finding it hard to pay for gas and to pay for groceries. And if you can't pay for those two simple things, you're in hot water. And anytime you start to put gas and groceries on a credit card, not knowing how you can pay it off immediately within the month, that's a sign of trouble. It's almost as if you're taking on water. So a lot of people are in those circumstances, but they want us to believe that everyone who's out on the street may have some criminal activity going on. That's not always the case. That's not how it always starts. So we're going to get into that as well. But we're going to start off talking about Epstein and Donald Trump, because a lot of people feel like these actions are a way of putting up this big distraction, right? A big distraction from what the people want to know, including Donald Trump's strongest supporters, MAGA. They want to know what's going on with the Epstein files. Pam Bondi came out and says, hey, these files are on my desk, And to lead the way with this, we find that Elon Musk, remember what he said? He says that Donald Trump is the files, right? Donald Trump is the files. Pam Bondi says they're on her desk. Then they retracted and came back and says, oh, wait a minute, there is no files. What are you guys talking about? But the pressure intensified. And then Donald Trump came back and he says, oh, no, it's the blue guys. It's those Democrats that made up the files. So we do have files, but the files are a hoax and they were all made up. So we have a whole lot to look at when it comes to the Epstein files. We're going to start off checking out a video that came out on CNN that's going to break down how Donald Trump actually had a relationship with Epstein, whether people want to realize that or not. And it's going to break down a lot of facts to help us to understand where we are now, folks. Let's have at it.
Reporting now shows the two shared a close social circle for nearly 2 decades, from private jet flights to high-profile parties, and that's only part of the story. Photos, flight logs, and court records help reveal how long their personal history really was. K-Files' Andrew Kaczynski is here with all of that, and it is some extensive research and reporting that you all did. You've chronicled this relationship between Trump and Epstein from the 80s to mid-2000s is obviously when their contact probably cut off. What's the most striking thing that you find that kind of contradicts this? Donald Trump is no fan of Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah, so what we found, it really actually paints a portrait starting, as you said, in the 1980s up to the mid-2000s. It paints this portrait of a long, enduring friendship. I think there were several associates who have called them best friends. Epstein himself said that he was Donald Trump's closest friend for 10 years. And we looked through these.
Now, you guys remember I posted the video last week where Epstein, in his own words, said that him and Donald Trump were close friends for 10 years. And as they highlighted here, they were friends overall for 20 years.
Hundreds of hours of video, hundreds of photos. We went through documents from court files, exhibits from lawsuits. So we really chronicled this whole relationship through time. And one thing that I found really interesting was these flight logs from Epstein's private jet, which were part of that investigation into Ghislaine Maxwell. And they really tell you a story of how close these guys are. Look at just a few of them. This is in 1993, for instance. This is the same year that we found as well that Jeffrey Epstein attended Donald Trump's wedding to Marla Maples. Trump flew on that plane 4 times with Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell between Palm Beach, where Mar-a-Lago is, and where Epstein also owns a home. Let's fast forward then to 1994. Trump flew from Palm Beach to Washington, D.C. with his then wife, Marla Maples, his daughter, Tiffany, and a nanny before they returned to New Jersey that day. In August 1995, just he and Eric were on board with Epstein and Maxwell again. They flew from Palm Beach to Teterboro in New Jersey. And then in January 1997.
So already we see that Donald Trump was on Epstein's flights and on the flight log quite a lot of times, but Donald Trump says that he never went to the island. Do you guys believe that? What do you think? We have quite a few comments. We're just going to breeze through a few of them. Thank you guys for participating. I really do appreciate that. All right, we have Sharon here. Thank you, Sharon, for showing up so religiously. JDP says, oh, that's sad. Thank you for your comment as well. Let's see what we have here. All right, so let's get to it. We have Lorraine Clark says, hey, Mel and chat. Thank you, Lorraine, for coming back. I remember you, and I'm so happy you decided to come back and be with us here. Sharon Godbolt says, things are getting worse. I can second that. That's so true. We have Fates Karma here. Thank you, Fates. We hope everything is going okay with your wife as well. Thank you. And also give us an update. Poppy of 15 says gas and food prices are controlled by taxation at the state level. Contrived. Okay, so you think it's all contrived. Thank you for your participation. Oh, Poppy of 15 says grabbing at straws. Tell us all about it. Lonnie says you're so pathetic. We're still supposed to believe that the Democrats held this information for 4 years and just didn't release it out of the goodness of their hearts. So far, no one on this channel today have said anything pathetic or accused anyone of anything. So I'm not sure what angle you're presenting from, but I would say it's not straight. Sharon says, I believe he's been to the island. Okay, well, Donald Trump says he hasn't been to the island. You know who else says he hasn't been to the island? is Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton says he hasn't been to the island either.
Trump flew with the pair from Palm Beach to Newark, New Jersey. All of these trips, 8 in total, were documented in logs that I mentioned were from that trial.
You also took a look at what Donald Trump himself has said about Jeffrey Epstein. What did you find?
Yeah, that's right. And one of the things that's always been so striking is that quote that he said in 2002 that we found in that New York
Yes.
Magazine article where he said he was a terrific guy, he liked beautiful women just like him. And then that quote where he says he likes many of them on the younger side. That was from an article entitled Jeffrey Epstein, International Money Man of Mystery in New York Magazine. Now, just 2 years later, we were going through Donald Trump's book, and there he had one called How to Get Rich. And then we wrote in his book that somebody named Mysterious Jeffrey had called him, and that you could see it right there. That's the passage from his book. He says Jeffrey calls in, but there's actually a lot of activity between these two in 2004. One of the things that was seized from Jeffrey Epstein's home during that initial investigation to him in the mid-2000s were message pads. And on those message pads, there were two, if you look here, 2 messages from Donald Trump in November of 2004. This is around the time the two of them actually were competing to buy a property in West Palm Beach. Trump ultimately won out. He beat Epstein, and this is allegedly part of what made their relationship deteriorate.
Yeah, Donald Trump's talked about that.
Okay, so this is all alleged, folks. Don't get too jumbled and bumbled up about the conversation. He's speaking from his reference point. James Trump, we have a Trumper in the building, folks, a family member. He says, where do you have proof that Donald Trump ever flew on an Epstein plane? Okay, well, they're showing you flight logs. Obviously, we are not forensic investigators to confirm whether these flight logs are 100% accurate, but we're just reviewing what's going on in the news. James Trump says, CNN also told us Kamala Harris was going to win, but she got hit by the red wave so hard, FEMA had to give her $750. Oh, my goodness. Thank you for your input. I understand that you're zealous for Mr. Trump. You really love him a lot, and there's nothing wrong with that. You're entitled to that. Everybody can love who they want to. Captain M says, yes, he did. Okay, so he flew on the airplane. Is that what you're saying? Greg Bain says, fake news at its best. Okay, so he's not a believer. Ryan Hanley, thank you for coming in. He says, what are your thoughts on Russian collusion, lie, and trying to impeach Trump on a lie? If it's true, then that's quite wrong, I must say, but I think they're going to get to the bottom of it because they're doing this big investigation that includes Barack Obama. They're trying to lock Barack Obama up. What do you guys think? Donald Trump is not playing any games. He's really going after Barack Obama. It looks like it's payback time. Let's get back to the video.
As well. Your review also, you looked also through tons of photos and tons of video of Trump and Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell together from Mar-a-Lago to here in Manhattan. Walk us through kind of some of those moments that you found.
Yeah, Kate, and these images, they really speak for themselves. In November 1992, there's an image that a lot of people have seen, and it's of Trump and Epstein, and they're dancing there. You can see with models. I think you can see Ghislaine Maxwell in the background if you look. She was there just a second ago. Just a year.
So I just want to ask this question. For those of you in the audience that are debating whether or not Donald Trump actually flew on Epstein's plane, do you think that this is a real video, or do you think it's AI? Do you think it's possible that they even knew each other? I just want to see your position because you're so adamant that he was not perhaps on the airplane. Tell us what you think.
A year later, we had found, or previously, Epstein was at Trump's wedding in 1993. That's the photo there on the left. 1997, you can see in that photo on the right, that's them at a Victoria's Secret Angels event. And then in 1999, this that I found.
I will say one of my best friends throughout our lives, we've been really close. If he called me, I would definitely come to support his family and all. I don't have that many pictures with him. So what do you think? What about your best friend? I want you guys to answer this. Do you have as many pictures as they have together of the person that you have found to be your best friend throughout life? Tell us what you think, because a lot of people are giving pushback. I want to see how logical you are.
In some archives, it was Trump and Epstein, and they're actually chatting at a Victoria's Secret fashion show. In 1997, he was also photographed with Maxwell at a fashion show. These guys attended a lot of fashion shows together, it looks like. And then in February.
Do you guys think that this is an accurate picture, or do you think it's made up by AI? Is it all fake news? Because this is the person now that she's hoping is going to pardon her, and they have a history together. Or do you not agree with that? Face Karma says the entire government is hiding this list. The issue is Trump literally releasing the list and total transparency. Now there is no list, or the Democrats made the fake list. That sounds like what Donald Trump says. RYPT, thank you for showing up. Hi to you as well. Okay. Greg Bain says everyone voted for him. Definitely. He caught the red wave. Nobody's disputing that. Rugu Numi says morons or us. Okay, everybody that disagrees is a moron. Okay, Face Karma says if the Democrats made the list, you know full well it would have been released. Okay. A lot of people argue, though, that if Donald Trump did something nefarious, right, that the Democrats would have released it when they were being snowed in with the last election and losing. They would have released this information to try to get the edge on Trump. So that's an argument contrary to what you just said. How would you confront that argument? Greg Bain says, JDP, okay. All right, Reverend Greenbacks is back. He says he really don't care. He's just here to participate. Rugu says, Lemmings Unite. Okay, not sure what that means. Cody Folsom, thanks for having you here. You're welcome. Please come back and hang out with us anytime. We do this every day. At lunch, we cover the latest news. We just go through some clips or articles, and we just discuss it together and have a meeting of the minds. Cody Folsom says, it's known he flew on the plane at minimum and knew each other for 20 years. Okay, that sounds very true. That's what we're seeing in the media, but some people just don't believe it that way. Greg says, I don't care either. A lot of guys don't care. They're just here for moral support. Sean says Trump rented Epstein plane during presidential runs. Okay, well, now we have an argument as to why Trump was on the plane. That makes sense, but it all fits in line. It explains why his name is on the log, folks. The Murder Hornet says, I think if they really had something would have found out in 2018. Okay. I think that's true. That's true. JDP says, please watch your language due to the YouTube policies. Yes, indeed. Please do not use words that are deplorable, folks. Let's use words that are inspiring, or words that you could still make your point without using the vulgar words. Tony Mendez says rich folks hang out together. That doesn't mean one knows what the other does in privacy of their home. That is so true. That's a very logical point. That's a great point, Tony. Thank you so much. That point really hit home. Nunya says Trump never said he did not know Epstein. That is so true too. Kim Hill says, just a question, but in all this time that the Democrats have been trying to, I don't know, get him or something, you think they would already have now use it against him? Just a question. Okay. Apparently they don't have anything too strong. They had many years to take Trump down. I attended Donald Trump's trial here in New York City, where he ended up getting 34 felonies, folks. So evidently they didn't have anything on Trump. But everybody wants to know what's going on with the Epstein list, because they feel like there's some there. Not that everybody agree with it. Jim Jones says, if true, why didn't the Democrats let the report out? Okay, good point. Rich says, left always tries to spin it. Spin it. Eon says, wow, look at all these low lives shielding the orange PDF file. A lot of people love Trump. They feel like he's the new sheriff in town that's going to change the world. But a lot of people are not happy, especially if you go to D.C. right now. They're protesting. We're going to go over that. Let's get back to the video.
Of 2000, there was an event in Mar-a-Lago that featured not only Trump, Epstein, and Maxwell, but also Prince Andrew was also at this event. And these images were initially published in the Palm Beach Post in the year.
Now, allegedly, I don't want to spread anything wrong, but when it comes to Prince Andrew, and there have been reports that his mother scolded him quite well in some sort of relationship or in some way that he knew Epstein.
2000. So there's a lot of public appearances, and it definitely undercuts Trump's claim that he was not a fan and they were sort of just distant acquaintances.
So
It takes 90 seconds for this NASA-engineered AC cool down your room. It's smaller than a toaster.
what is the president saying about this?
So we reached out to the White House. We asked them about all of this, and it's on CNN.com. If you read the timeline, it's very extensive. They didn't respond to any of the detailed questions that we sent, but Stephen Chung, who is the communications director for the sent along a statement, said, quote, "The fact is that the president kicked him out of his club for being a creep." So it's going to be interesting to see, because he says they weren't close. He says he was not a fan, but we continue to just see more and more revelations come out.
Yeah, and we've heard that similar statement from Stephen Chung many times about questions that linger. It's great to see you. Great reporting as always. Thanks, Andrew. A key figure in the Epstein case, who later worked for President Trump, could soon be called to testify under oath. Alex Acosta was the prosecutor who infamously gave Jeffrey Epstein a sweetheart deal in 2008, a deal that allowed Epstein to serve minimal time.
Have you guys noticed that Epstein and Maxwell are getting these sweetheart deals? Why do you think that's the case? Do you think it's they definitely did not give Sean Puffy Combs a sweetheart deal, as he still sits in jail? He was left with those 2 charges, right? And I'm not saying what he did was right, but if you look at the sweetheart deals, a lot of people don't get them. Why is that, folks?
In prison, and a deal that shut down the federal investigation into his alleged sex trafficking ring. Acosta then went on to serve as Trump's first-term labor secretary. For reasons unknown, Acosta, the man who would know everything about the Epstein case, was left off the House Oversight Committee's
All roads lead back to Epstein here, right?
list of subpoenaed witnesses. But tonight, a Republican on that committee, Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna, is telling the Palm Beach Post that calling Acosta to testify is not, quote, off the table. She also says at any time he can be called to testify. I'm going to speak to the top Democrat on that committee in a moment about plans to subpoena Acosta.
Okay, let's get to a couple of the comments here. I know you want to be heard, everyone. Arjen says Trump needs to release the Epstein files. People want to know. They want those files right now, folks. We've been asking for those files every day. Even MAGA's asking for the files. Tammy says Trump was giving Epstein a ride to the airport. Then Trump found out what Epstein did. When Trump found out what made him leave Mar-a-Lago, that's what happened eons ago. I think it was 1997, by the way. He's an honest person, too. So Donald Trump is like Honest Abe, folks. There's nothing wrong there. People are making these things up, perhaps. I don't know, but that's there is a big conflict. We have people on both sides, some for Trump, some not. Sean says Elon rigged voting machines. I posted a video about that. Go back and check out my shorts. Go and check that out. Alphi Kamala lost. Go Trump. I'm not sure. Okay. Greg says, can't fix stupid. Okay, thank you, Greg. Lake Speed says, tell the Democrat judges to unseal the list. Damn it. Okay, what are they hiding? Everybody wants to know what's going on with the list. I don't think we can move forward, right? People want to know. Patriot 2020 is back, says, if it was true, it would have been over and over again over the last decade. Okay, thank you. Last Speed says, why are the Democrats judges sealing the list? What are they trying to prevent people from seeing, right? Tony Mendez says, I don't know what goes on in the houses of people I occasionally hang out with. That's a good point. Just because you're in pictures, photos with people does not mean you prescribe to the same behavior. Not always, but they do say birds of a feather flock together, right? Do you think there's some truth with that? Justice says some Dems are in the list with Trump. That's why they didn't release it. Okay, so that's why the Dems. Okay, Eric is in the building. Shout out to you, Eric. Thank you for coming through. All right. JDP says it's okay to express your opinions. All we ask is that you be respectful and mindful to the YouTube policies. Arctic Adjuster says, Tammy, you're not serious, are you? Okay, Jerome. Joswiak says, blah, blah. If Trump did anything wrong with this creep, the Democrats would have cooked Trump a long time ago, instead of trying to set him up or saying he was in a collusion with Russia. Okay, Mashona says, welcome in, and thanks for joining. We want to hear from you. We just ask that you be respectful to each other and watch your language in the chat and be respectful of the YouTube policies. Thank you so much, Mashona. All right. Bordeaux says, welcome to everybody too. Dolomite says the investigation wasn't under Obama or Biden. It was under Bush and Trump. Okay. Thank you for the history on it. Keep bringing the facts. Nunya says, exactly. So why do they release the matters now? And why so late in the game except to save face for Obama and his band of thieves? Oh boy, he has a band of thieves, folks. You got to watch out.
Because even though dozens of victims had come forward at that point, Acosta, as I mentioned, let Epstein off easy, allowed him to plead guilty to just 2 prostitution-related charges. Epstein served only 13 months in a county jail and was allowed to leave the jail nearly every day for 12 hours. The Department of Justice review later found.
Do you guys think it's something fishy as to why he has a sweetheart deal? Remember the old show, Andy Griffith Show? How Otis was allowed to get out and come back in before it got too late at night, folks. I think Epstein had one of those Mayberry deals, right?
That Acosta exercised poor judgment in the case, although he continued to defend his actions years after the case was closed.
There was value to getting a guilty plea. You can always look at a play after the fact and say, should it have been the safe play or should you have gone for the big score?
This comes as President Trump is, many think, trying to change the subject from Epstein as he threatens a full-on federal takeover of Washington, D.C. But it's Trump's own party who won't let Epstein go.
The American people are sick and tired of this government holding on to all these secrets. They're sick and tired of being lied to by the intelligence community and by a deep state. I hope that we don't have to wait 60, 70 years to find out what really happened when it came to Jeffrey.
You know, everybody started asking about the Epstein files, and Donald Trump says, no, it's these criminals in Washington, D.C., even though now this is what the police are saying, that crime has went down in D.C. They have the National Guard floating through on just about every street. That's what they say. All right. Eon says, we know Epstein did not unalive himself when Trump was president. That's a key point, Eon. Donald Trump was president when Epstein unalived himself. A lot of people don't realize that. Gold Digger's in the building. Gold Digger, welcome back. Good morning to you as well. Chris says, I know a woman who murdered her brother. Pictures of me in her area. Been to her house, and she has been to mine. I guess I'm a murderer too. Okay. If life was that simple, then I can understand it, but it's not that simple. Aryan says, released it, but I appreciate your comment, though. I get your point. But do you have, 20 pictures with this lady and so forth? That's the argument they're making. Aryan says, release Epstein files. Why did Jeffrey leave his plane to Trump? Oh, is that true? I have to research that. First time I've heard that. Aryan, thanks for sharing that. If you have a link or something, please put it in the chat. We'll definitely follow up with that. Dolomite says Epstein died when Trump was president. Yes, indeed. That's a fact. They tried to say it was Joe Biden was the president, but that's not true. Gary says, Dems are children. We vote into office to act, but never work on those things. We sent them to help or change. So the Democrats are just a farce, is basically what he's saying. All right. Mashona says the opinions and views expressed are that of the person expressing them and do not reflect the views of the host. Welcome in and thanks for joining. Yes, indeed. We appreciate everybody here. We have people here on both sides of the aisle. We have a lot of Republicans. We have Democrats. We probably even have some people of Elon Musk's new party called the American Party, or whatever you prescribe to. We just ask that you try to get along while we have this meeting of the minds, folks. We're a little bit behind time, so I'm going to move on. I want to talk about a few other things before I get into how we can make a few bucks from what Donald Trump has said. But first, we're going to take a look at what's happening with the Washington, D.C. demolition. I want to show you guys what's happening here. So let me give you a little history. These are the encampments, the homeless encampments that Donald Trump was talking about, and said they do not want people living on the outskirts in the woods. I know we have a lot of that here in New York. It's a big problem. It's a big concern, but a lot of these people have no place to go. Well, look what's happening in Washington, D.C. So as you can see, they're already cleaning it up. They're cleaning up all of these people's items, whether they like it or not. Does anybody disagree with that? Tell us what you think. I've been seeing a lot of people feel like the homeless are being targeted as though they're criminals, but can you really say that, being that they're trying to clean up and lessen the crime in your local neighborhood? And believe me, they're going to be coming to a city near you. We have so many comments coming through. I'm going to try to get through some of them, but tell us, do you guys agree with this? Are there any people here that say, oh, this is bad that they're living out in the streets like this? Tell us what you think. Big Brother Trucker says he saved billions, but can't house the homeless. Okay, so you're talking about the money that came back from Doge. H. Bogart says this is abandoned garbage. It would appear that way, but people actually live there at night. Roberta says that's not a secret, is that people cannot handle the reality. Okay, the reality of this. Global Gaming says, I don't see nothing wrong. They had time to find someplace else. Okay, you think they had something. Where would they get the resources from? And what happens to these individuals? Yesterday, we went over how basically Donald Trump said about 2 years ago, they are buying land and they're going to bring these people and set up tents and bring in psychiatrists and doctors and all of that. What do you think about that? These are serious times. But anyway, let's now look at a reason perhaps as to why the president is taking such a strong stance when it comes to this activity. Let's get to it. Let's look at another video here.
Smith, she says all officers are supposed to be identifiable. We spoke with one tourist from New York who can't believe what is happening in the nation's capital.
It's disturbing to see this situation going on, and I guess that I must say, you know, I've been in the city a couple days now, and you can definitely feel the increased police and sort of militarized presence in the city.
This is complete BS.
We have a lot of people here, probably the largest crowd we've had. So please hit the like button, share, and subscribe. I really do appreciate all the content. There's so many people with the comments. It's amazing. I'm going to try to breeze through as many as I can. Sean says Trump was a slumlord in the 70s. Okay, so you're saying he was a slumlord too. Black Sand says we need to see the hamburger trucks. Okay, all right. Oh, actually, there's a video I was going to show it. I'll show it tomorrow. There's a guy down in Houston that started a burger company called Trump Burgers, and he was a Hispanic. And guess what? They deported him, and I guess they'll probably close down his burger joints. But there's no discrimination when it comes to this immigration, folks. Warehouse Joe says, how about activity against the PDFs? Okay, all right. H. Bogart says, yeah, it's super cruel to force people to accept housing and resources to get off the street. Thank you. Great point. Solid point. I respect all your comments. Let's Talk Network says Trump has the right idea to clean up the streets. Okay.
None of this is necessary.
We're going to respond to those calls together. If the team is out there, it's a collaborative effort right now, right? We have partnered with our federal law enforcement agencies that are here, and so we go to
So right here we have the mayor and we have the police chief.
Respond to a call for service anywhere across the city.
And we saw another example of this kind of joint response last night in Columbia Heights. MPD tells us that they were responding to a call about an illegal dirt bike on the streets, where they ended up arresting a man. Over a dozen federal agents, again, including Homeland Security, responded to assist officers, and the community was not happy about this. They started yelling, saying, "Shame on ICE," yelling at agents, telling them to get out of their neighborhood. So, Marina and Jim, as much as some people in the communities may not like this, you just heard from Chief Smith. She says this is now a collaborative effort.
Now, let me tell you what I'm hearing, folks. And listen, I'm only telling you guys, I'm just a messenger here. But a lot of people are saying that Donald Trump, well, first I heard about 3 months ago, well, what's happening with the illegal immigrants is going to eventually happen to Black people, right? So that's what I heard. Now I'm starting to hear people say, now Trump is turning his attention to Black people after he started with the Hispanics or what have you. So tell us what you think. Do you think there's some truth to that, or you think people are just falling for fear mongering, right? Now, on the outside of that, everybody still wants to know where the Epstein files. So try to process all that together. Tell us what you think.
This is the kind of response you're going to see on some calls.
Got safety protocols? Grainger has the Safety Pros 2 call.
Okay, very good. So that covers that particular matter when it comes to all the crime that's happening in DC. So we're going to take a look at finances next, but I still want to get to a few of the comments to see what you thought about my last statement, what people are saying that this is probably a distraction, and also it might be a target towards African Americans. Tell us what you think, and try not to be too rude. Try to be calm. I know it's okay. Tony Mendez. Tony, you gave a good comment earlier. Let's see. I hear that also, fear mongering. The same people that say that are the ones defending we can't use that word, the rapists, the carjackers, and the murderers. Okay, let's try to use the word unalive. I'm not coming down on anybody, but I'm saying let's use that word instead of the M word going forward if we can. All right, Black Sand says, have you ever seen any blackmail video of any kind? It's not allowed. Okay, all right. Hernan Camacho says, if the Supreme Court bans gay marriage, Grindr will release log cabins, Republicans. Oh my goodness. Woo, we got a lot going on here. Mashona says, please like, share, and subscribe and support the channel, folks. Okay. Sally Beatty says, and Epstein files really don't make me laugh. People, you honestly think if the Democrats had dirt on Donald Trump with Jeffrey Epstein, they wouldn't have drugs that up in their 100 impeachments. Okay. All right. That's a good point. That's a solid point. I like that. Police Cam Reaction says, look, they should be getting every illegal immigrant no matter what. Why should one get to stay and others have to go, period? Criminals are out. Okay, so Donald Trump is just cleaning up. It's not a targeting. That's what people are tending to say here. And we appreciate your comments as well. All right. A lot of people are concerned about gay marriage. We'll cover that tomorrow. Tomorrow, I'll get into the gay marriage. We know that the Supreme Court may really dig that up. It might be really serious, folks. It's going to affect a lot of Americans, right? Howard G says, I think he'd like to get rid of the Black people. I don't think he can get rid of us. We know Trump is a convicted rapist, okay? All right, we're going to have to call that violator instead of that word. Okay. All right. Very good. A lot of good comments. Ugg says the people who are against Trump and fight him tooth and nail are the people who want chaos to continue and who want to continue reaping the benefits from the fear-mongering tactics. So you think a lot of this is just fear-mongering? Okay, it's a subject. I wanted to bring it up. I wanted to know what you guys think. Sally Beatty says, I feel the best thing the Black community could do for themselves is stop listening to the slave owner Democrat. I could understand your comment. That's a solid comment. H. Bogert says the Supreme Court would never ban gay marriage. That's just more fear mongering. Okay. All right. It's definitely in the media. I do find that the media wants to push that fear mongering, it actually sells. So I do understand that. We try to stay away from that over at independent media. We try to stay away from all that craziness. And that's why I let you guys lead the way with your comments, okay? So I want to get to, it looks like we're going to be out of time. We won't be able to get to everything I wanted to cover today, but I do want to talk about how Donald Trump potentially made individuals money. Remember, we're doing a case study on a video that Donald Trump did, maybe a speech he gave about 2 or 3 weeks ago. He mentioned 3 companies. Let's see if there's anybody in the audience that remember those 3 companies that we went over. I'm going to pull up the video, but we're going to look at how much money you would have made if you had to listen to what Donald Trump said that day when he gave the speech, okay? So let me pull that up.
We lost David McCormick, who's voting.
All right, so you remember this speech? Let's see if anybody can think of any of these companies that he had mentioned. Cannabis wasn't cannabis, but thank you for your comment. All right. Lyrical Cancer says that he's a grifter. Okay, so 3 companies were NVIDIA, AMD, and also Palantir. Okay, so let's get to the video, and then we're going to take a look to see how much these stocks increased. Okay.
Voting. So why is David here? Because you're supposed to be voting, Ted. I don't know.
Okay, Eric hit the nail on the head. Also, JDP. It was those 3 companies indeed. Sorry, I didn't see it in time.
Oh, I'll tell you what, this man works hard.
So let me give you a little history because we are out of time here. My point was a lot of times the president is dropping gems for those that are investing, especially people that are in his circle and also of the MAGA group. And if you pay attention, it could be very rewarding for you. Here's an example. In this speech, he's going to mention 3 companies, and this was about 2 or 3 weeks ago. Now, I purchased the stock, as I always do, but you'll see how much these companies have gone up since the president mentioned these leaders of the CEOs of these companies.
Ted works hard, and he works good. And a very special thanks to some of the top industry leaders here, including somebody that's amazing. I said, look, we'll break this guy up. This is before I learned the facts of life. I said, we'll break him up. They said, don't say, it's very hard. I said, why? I said, what percentages of the market does he have? So he has 100.
Okay, so I want to give away some money here. I'm going to give away $30 to the individual that can tell me at the time of this speech, AMD was worth $161. So I need everyone to go look it up now, see what it's worth today, and tell me how much money you would have made had you purchased. Now, I'm not giving you financial advice and telling you should have purchased it, but I'm giving you an idea of what you could have made had you listened to Trump.
Percent. I said, who the hell is he? What's his name? His name is Jensen Huang, NVIDIA. I said, what the hell is NVIDIA? I've never heard of it before. He said, you don't want to know about it, sir. I figured we could go in and we could sort of break them up a little bit, get them a little competition. And I found out it's not easy in that business. I said, supposing we put the greatest minds together and they work hand in hand for a couple of years. He said, no, it would take at least 10 years to catch him if he ran NVIDIA totally incompetently from now on.
So the name of the company is NVIDIA, right? So look up and see how much NVIDIA is worth today. But Donald Trump is saying that they have the market so cornered, it would take 10 years for any other company to catch up with them. Now, do you think Donald Trump is talking about this company for his health? He doesn't typically move that way, right? So that's why I was pointing out this when he actually gave the speech to tell you this company will probably potentially move.
So I said, all right, let's go on to the next one. And then I got to know Jensen, and now I see why. Jensen, will you stand up? What a job. What a job you've done.
Okay, so Cindy says that AMD has gone up $33. Wow, since he gave the speech. Okay, Cindy, could someone, moderator, please put the email address in the chat so Cindy could send over. I believe she's the first one to highlight this. Cindy, send me your information, your Cash App, and I'll send you the money. Thank you very much. Let's get back to it. Now, this is NVIDIA, but he's going to talk about 2 other companies.
Man. Great. He's a great guy, too. Lisa Sue of AMD. Lisa?
Okay, so AMD has gone up $30 since he gave this speech, right? And we covered it the day after.
Lisa? Thank you. Congratulations. Great job. Sham Sanikar of Palantir. We buy a lot of things from Palantir.
Now, I know a lot of people don't like Donald Trump, and this is not about emotions, but remember back in the day when Oprah would talk about something, it would just turn into gold. Or if she spoke negatively about something, remember with the cattle and how those companies basically were decimated. Donald Trump is like a modern day, a current version of this. And I'm not saying it's going to work in every regard, but we're looking at case in points of what this particular speech led to.
Where are you? Are we paying our bills? I think so. We just made a deal with the European Union where they're going to pay the United States of America 100% of the cost of all military equipment. They're going to ship it to the European Union, and then they'll distribute it, and much of it will go to Ukraine. It's been a long time since you've heard those words, because we're in for $350 billion. But now we send it to Europe, and Europe pays, and they were great. We had a tremendous NATO meeting a few weeks ago, and it was pretty amazing, actually, what happened. They agreed to go from 2% to 5%, and they had 2% where they didn't pay. They have 5% where they've already paid. That's a big difference. That's trillions of dollars, actually, trillions. But they're going to spend that money in the United States with our defense companies, and we're going to send it to them, and they'll distribute the equipment that we send. So that's the way it should have been 3 years ago, frankly. And Jeff Sprecher, the other half of that incredible family, is he here? Is he here?
Now, let's keep in mind, this does not take away from the fact of inflation and what we're actually seeing on the day-to-day that we covered yesterday. We're just talking about the stock market in general. This is not some promotion of Donald Trump as an individual. I know everybody have their own interpretation of him and what have you. I just want to say that for the record. Tomorrow, when we go through inflation, you'll see that even though companies are going up and people are making money, you'll see that the average person is suffering tremendously depending on where they may live. And yesterday, when we went over gas, we see that some people said that gas is tremendously high. And then in some of the southern states, it appeared to be quite low. So we're going to get into that tomorrow as well. But please keep that in mind as we make these different discussions. This is just a way for us to have a meeting of the minds and for everyone to express themselves. So I'm going to get to a few of the comments before we check out for today. I know everybody has to get back to their activity. Tony Mendez says, great point, sir. Okay. Cindy says, wow, really, thank you. Yes, indeed, Cindy. Send me your Cash App so I can send you your funds right away. Black Sand says, money is money. Let's not get too political because you can't stop the government, but you can make money. That's the point. Black Sand, you made a great point. Thank you so much. You have to let it work for you. You can't just sit there and cry yourself to sleep at night because that's not going to solve any problems. All right. James Barry says, thank you, Grandpa. Trump's inflation now is up dramatically. I guess you have to have the new and inflation report to read to you. Okay. Well, that's what I just talked about. So I'm not sure why you're taking that stance, but it's okay. I respect that. Scarface says, why is he just talking about giving billions to Europe when every year for decades, United States gives $4 billion approximately to Israel out of taxpayers' money? What is the issue with Israel? That's another question we have to address. So I want to do a show maybe in 2 days looking at why does the United States, why are they such strong supporters of Israel? Donald Trump did say he would bring an end to the war between Israel, right, and Palestine. And we're still stuck in the mud. Why is that the case? We're going to get to it, but not too dramatically, because when you talk about those type of subjects, they'll line you up to get rid of you. Black Sand says, they all lie, two heads, one body. Okay, thank you. That's the truth. A lot of people lie. H. Bogart says 100% black. Okay. All right. Mashona says we all need multiple streams of income to stay afloat and try to get ahead. Unfortunately, just working for someone else isn't going to cut it. And that's why we talk about investing in the stock market. That's why I try to encourage people to go out and start your own business. A lot of times you can do so while you have your day job. And if you do it well, you can surpass and get to a level to where you no longer have to work for the man, right? All right. So we're almost approaching the end of the hour, and I know people have things to get back to. Tree Guy says Washington State deep blue gas prices are still crazy high. I heard about that yesterday. Washington State was mentioned as one of those places. Adolph says, and thank you very much, Tree Guy. Please come back. We like having you here and give us an update. We like to look at the numbers. Tell us how the prices of gas are changing over time. Adolph says that's 9% inflation rate in June of 2022 was hell on my wallet. Okay, so it was hell on your wallet. Sorry to hear that. But inflation is a big problem. I think that this tariff movement is going to really affect people in a large way. It definitely over time. Donovan Valentine says, hell on your wallet, do not pay for groceries weekly, more than doubled since Trump has sat in office. So when people are buying gas and buying groceries at the everyday life, they're feeling it in their pockets. And it's a serious situation, folks. Daniel Price is back. Welcome back, Daniel. Daniel says, no matter what anyone tells you, the national average for gas being $3.25 a gallon isn't cheap. Okay, so that's not cheap. Okay, thank you very much. James Merritt says, hey, Kev, I didn't say that. It was the other James. Okay, we have a lot of James here today. Robert Villa says, read the Bible and you will know. What particular in the Bible, Robert, would help us understand the situation about Trump? Tell us all about it. Adolph says the inflation rate was 2.7% last month. Well within and it's cut off. Okay. Tree Guy says, amen to that. Donovan Valentine says, absolutely no explanation for it. Tasty Lettuce. Okay. Tasty Lettuce says Trump has done everything he has done in the last few weeks to try to stop Epstein talk. If he does something drastic like sign away Alaskan mineral rights to Putin, I would not be surprised. Okay, I'm going to be looking out for that. There has to be some sort of reason why they're meeting. In fact, they are meeting in Alaska. So thank you. Tasty Letters, come back and tell us about it. Make sure we stay abreast with the news. Donovan Valentine says absolutely no explanation for him pardoning Ghislaine Maxwell, a 20-year child sex trafficker with over 1,000 kids under her belt, with Epstein linked both with Trump. No explanation. Folks, what is going on, right? This is really bad. I don't think it's going to go away. So will Donald Trump keep pounding the pavement with distractions, or will we see those files? My grandmother would say, don't hold your breath. Don't do it, folks. You may not be around. James Sellers says, Mama, that lying man on TV again. That's right. Mama, there goes that man. And you say he's a liar. Okay, Black Sand says, great show. I'll subscribe. Just did. Thank you. Thank you for subscribing. I appreciate it. We do this every day at lunch. I want to give a shout out to all the moderators. They do such a beautiful job in making sure that everyone gets what they need. So we're going to bring this show to an end now, but not without covering Daniel Price. Daniel came back, so I want to make sure I get his message out. Daniel says, Powell's not going to touch the interest rates unless he has to. He's going to prove a point that it's not the Fed's fault when the economy tanks. It'll be Donald's. Oh, my, it's going to be Donald Trump. So you really think the economy is going to tank because of the president of the United States? Okay, thank you. Stay in tune. Keep coming back. We're going to cover it up or down, whichever way it goes, until the wheels fall off, folks. Thank you guys for tuning in today to the channel. We covered quite a bit. And let's see here. I'm sorry. Everybody seems to be talking about gay marriage, so I'm going to talk about that tomorrow. If you have any input, you can feel free to email it. Again, please put the email in the chat for one of the moderators if you could do that. We're going to talk about the new developments with that. We have a lot of good things coming out. We're going to discuss it. I look forward actually to your comments more than anything that I would have to say, because everybody definitely expresses themselves every day. We'll more than likely be back on tonight for a show, perhaps even a panel. So stay tuned around 8 o'clock tonight for more conversation about the news and the subjects that really, really touch each and every one of us. Especially, everybody has all eyes on Washington, D.C., because I think it's going to spread like wildfire, and it's going to happen in cities near. I'm right here in New York City. You guys know I cover it all the time. So we'll see what happens. The mayor here in New York says he does not want it to come, but, you know, he had a shaky situation with the president. In his case, remember, the president pulled him out of the tentacles of the court system, the Southern District of New York, but he had to abide by the rules, allegedly, right? So I don't think he would be able to say much of anything if Donald Trump decided to send the National Guard into New York City. Thank you guys for tuning in. For the moderators, I'm testing out new technology, a new system to try to bring a better show. So in about 3 minutes, I'm coming back on live just to do a test. If you guys could hang around just for a few minutes to tell me you can hear the show, it looks okay, you can give me your input. But other than that, enjoy the rest of your day, folks. And keep in mind what I showed you about those stocks, and just pay attention to what the president say and how he gives clues to his followers, not just his followers, to people in general. And then just watch and see how the market moves. I mean, it's just a way of interpreting the stock market and also learning. And that's why we chose to do this as a case study. Thank you, guys, and we'll see you tonight at 8.
Different voices, but the same song. Building a world where we all belong. Kindness leading the way, breaking the chains. In the symphony of love, the flame remains. Embracing diversity, brighter days in sight. Watching the world sharing love and light. Hearts beating as one in our peaceful flight. Colors of harmony, painting the night. United we stand in love's pure might. Harmony, painting the night. United we stand in love's pure might.